Are you tired of going to parties and having arguments with friends because you have cryptocurrency or you are investing in trading cryptocurrency and you feel insecure about what you're doing? Well, this video is for you guys. Thank you very much for Waypoint for joining us here at Waypoint Digital. And one of the things that I'm really excited to talk about, and we're just going to get right into it, is cryptocurrency. There are a lot of different aspects about cryptocurrency that I think needs to be kind of clarified for a lot of people. And if there are situations you're in where you feel a little uneasy about where cryptocurrency is going, maybe this will give you a little bit more confidence in deciding that having a little bit of faith and maybe looking at some different variables that could suggest the greater opportunity or the potential opportunities that will arise in the near or coming future. So, with that being said, one of the things that we're not going to be focusing on this particular episode is the travel log, because I've actually posted a recent video of me doing muscle ups. So that video is already done. That's one of the ways that I'm going to provide content on this particular channel. But in this one, there are two areas that we're actually going to be putting a lot of energy into, and that's the not financial advice section of the series, but also C theories. But it's really going to be kind of a combined topic that we're going to go over. So why don't we just begin? Okay, so in generally speaking, we're going to be talking about some key areas I believe that's going to kind of open up Pandora's box, but also kind of eliminate some of those concepts that we might not been familiar with cryptocurrencies. All right, so we're going to talk about cryptocurrencies generally speaking, the central bank of digital currency, because a friend brought this up and I think there was a little bit of a worry that was described, so I wanted to be able to help clarify that maybe there are different sides to this story that we can feel confident about with cryptocurrency, but also kind of the warning signs that could ultimately lead to some of its demise. But I think there are a lot of positive signs that would suggest cryptocurrency is here to stay. So we're going to be looking at that a little bit further. And then the Internal Revenue Service. And that's going to be an interesting one to talk about because, like I said, it is not some pie in the sky idea of making money off of cryptocurrencies. You can actually make money from cryptocurrencies both as a short-term and long-term investment. And then, hey, why cryptocurrency? And then we're going to jump into the C theories of supporting a lot of these different aspects about cryptocurrency. So right now, what we want to do is look at where cryptocurrency has been going. And if you guys have been following any of the activity that's been going on with cryptocurrency just this year alone, it's been quite a wild ride in Bitcoin itself. And we're going to use that as the benchmark to kind of further describe what's going on. Is that it went as low as, I want to say, $32,000 per Bitcoin. So if you guys bought the dip, you're in a really good place. You know, you've made nearly $17,000 in several months, which is not a bad thing to encounter in your account, despite the scare that's been placed over the course of time. So again, that's one of the fair warnings that we have to take into consideration when we're jumping into cryptocurrency, is that it's very volatile, and in itself, despite the title cryptocurrency, the government itself does not treat cryptocurrency as a currency, and we'll go into that a little bit further later on. But as you can see, there's been quite a bit of movement across the board. Like I said, looking at Ethereum, it went down somewhere in the 1500, maybe a little bit lower, along with things like Cardano and Binance, Tether. All across the board. XRP went down as low, went down below $1. So obviously that would make some people's stomach turn, but that's kind of the name of the game when we're into cryptocurrency. Now, the central bank of digital currency. So the first thing that we should look to do is understand what the central bank of digital currency is, and it's a central bank digital currency uses an electronic record or digital token to represent the virtual form of a fiat currency of a particular nation or region. The CBDC is centralized. It is issued and regulated by the competent monetary authority of that country. So a little bit of background again, if you've been following what's been going on in the cryptocurrency space, one of the countries I believe has that has really backed cryptocurrency is Chile. So in more recent events, one of the activities that they did there was to be able to allow people to purchase items with Bitcoin. So that's a huge step into the adoption of using cryptocurrency as a method of exchange for products or services, or possibly even the fiat itself, which is the currency of that particular area. So again, these are just some of the types of activities that are good catalysts for cryptocurrency as a whole. And so there is a governing body that, as what I found right now, there hasn't been a lot of information in regards to what type of movement that they're going to be doing. But again, as we get a little bit deeper into this topic today, we're going to see that there's a lot more reasons to suggest that cryptocurrencies are here to stay, not only for the short-term time period, but also for the long term. How that pans out as a viable investment, that's really up to you guys to decide, and maybe this video will help with that type of decision. Next part is one of my favorites. Is I didn't change the link to this, but why don't we just talk about it? The Internal Revenue Service treats cryptocurrencies very much in the same way that it treats stocks. So again, kind of circling back around there, cryptocurrencies, despite what the name suggests, is actually not treated as a currency. What it's being treated as is an asset that's either held long term or short term. And anytime you hold something like a stock, for a short term period, and what's defined as being short term is anything under a year. So if you buy a cryptocurrency and say for $1,000, and then a month later you make it goes up to 2,000, and you sell it, you're going to be taxed on that $1,000 that you made on that cryptocurrency. So it's very important to talk with your financial advisor about what the rules are in regards to cryptocurrencies. But one of the things to really internalize is that cryptocurrencies are taxed. So regardless of what anybody thinks of, if cryptocurrency is a scam, or if cryptocurrency is not going to be a viable vehicle to make money off of, if there was anything that would give you reason to put money into cryptocurrency, is that at least in the US, it's treated as an asset in very much the similar way as a stock. So without, if you just removed all the other concepts that are involved with cryptocurrency, and you just took the fact that the government looks at it as an asset, and if you make money off of it, you got to pay the government to or the government will tax you on that asset. Okay, so if, like I said, if you just remove all the other things that are involved with cryptocurrency, this alone gives it viability of a vehicle where you can actually make money. Okay, and then so why crypto? And this is probably, I believe, one of the most important parts, besides the part where the government treats it like an asset where you can actually claim money off of, and you don't want to get into tax trouble. But one of the key components of what makes cryptocurrency, or I should say the blockchain technology, as something of great interest across the world, whether you're a conspiracy theorist or whether you're an investor, is that there's a public ledger that is pretty much updated on the regular. And as you can see, because this is viewed on a website right now, it's being updated kind of in real time. Obviously, because there's a lot of transactions that are happening over a course of, even just a second. This thing is not going to be updating as fast visually, but the public ledger is is updating on transactions that's occurred. Now, there are a couple of areas that I think we should pay particularly close to. So somewhere in this fancy setup here where we have time burned and the hash, if we're just going to click on one of these. So this is one of the most attractive parts, whether it's Big Brother, or whether you're an investor, so you can kind of go on both ends of the spectrum. One of the things to point out is all the transactions are provided publicly. Now, they don't necessarily identify you particularly, but if you look at the genesis of a particular transaction, and when I say the genesis of a particular transaction, in some ways you can actually track where that started from, thus the genesis of the transaction. So you might not know the direct identifier of that, but also you will know where that transaction has happened, and you'll see the volume, as you can see here, like the volume amounts of 10,000 XRP, 27,000 XRP. It's on a public ledger. It's not on the dark pool. So in that way, it does enable people to be able to have more predictability um, and more transparency with transactions that they made, for better or for worse. So think of all the different implications that are involved with a public ledger that might not have your name attached to it, but now it's being provided publicly across nodes, which is basically servers that are running on people's computers, or that are storing a copy of the hash of that particular transaction. So if you have a cryptocurrency wallet and you have it stored in your wallet, at some point there's that transaction where that wallet was created, and then whatever cryptocurrency that you add in that wallet. So the wallet itself will have an identifier, which is the hash, and then the cryptocurrency that gets placed into that wallet. So again, it's, in some sense, it is anonymous, but you can view the genesis of a particular transaction to where these different transactions are happening. And it's important to look at that all the cryptocurrencies that are out there has a public ledger where you can view transactions that are happening. So that also leads to a lot of the kind of more conspiracy theories, and they're not really more conspiracy theories, but it's something to pay attention to in regards to what we can anticipate the future of cryptocurrency to be. And I think this is going to be an important one, because this almost has, if you consider this kind of a C theory, is that you have to look at this as a way to determine that maybe there's a plan, there's a bigger plan outside of the scope of what we're viewing as we get into cryptocurrency, and why this type of technology is going to last longer than what people anticipate. So we're going to go into that a little bit. Okay. So for all those C theorists out there, a very synonymous or infamous organization is the Davos Group that runs the World Economic Forum. And I'm not going to go into deep detail about that, but we are going to go into what their thesis is, or what they're suggesting cryptocurrency is going to be. which is the second topic here, which is the World Economic Forum and cryptocurrency. And then we're going to go into kind of more narrowed down views, and some of this stuff actually a friend of mine was actually able to provide this a while back ago, again to kind of reinforce the positives that are involved with cryptocurrency. So, and then the bigger picture, let's look at it as a whole. And not wearing a tinfoil hat, just wearing my mask that I got from Ecuador. Let's go into the World Economic Forum. Okay, so again, for a lot of sea theorists that are out there, the Davos group is synonymous for this thing that's being proposed, which is the Great Reset. And the Great Reset is just kind of a redistribution, a new way of looking at the world. So not going to go too deep into it, but it's something to keep in mind of what's going on in this type of space, and then why it's going to relate to some of the concepts that will bring cryptocurrency into the mainstream in a very big way. But yeah, so the Great Reset is the pandemic, as the pandemic represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. Professor Klaus Schwab, which is the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum. And again, we're not going to go into heavy detail about this, but it's something to pay attention to as we move into the near future and into the future. So, what does the World Economic Forum have to do with cryptocurrency? Well, they have a guide that they have published, more recently updated on June 21st of this year, about the Global Future Council on Cryptocurrency. And this didn't really draw my attention until actually I saw it on a TikTok video. So I don't take full credit for any of some of the research that I was able to acquire here. But I was hot off the World Economic Forum and some of the things that they were talking about. But I wanted to prove out that some of the things that I saw on TikTok, because it's social media, so God knows what you'll find in that place. It's the Wild West as far as I'm concerned. But what this again, I'm not going to go into heavy detail, but it does go into educating people about cryptocurrency and the importance of cryptocurrency in society. But one of the areas that I want to really point out as we get down this document here, and we're going to keep going down. This is all available to the public if you guys want to see it. Buying cryptocurrency, etc. So it goes through the process of acquiring cryptocurrency, exploring the blockchain, which is the core of the technology, so on and so forth, privacy, etc. Running a node, and essentially, like I said, the distributed ledger. A node is basically servers. So your computer could essentially be a node where, once a transaction happens, a copy of a hash or the information of that chain, one link of that chain, goes to your computer and then populates across all others. The best way I'd like to think of it, in the way I understand it, is a lot like a CDN. If you guys are familiar with CDN, which is a content delivery network, it enables pictures, videos, large files to be able to be loaded on a browser much faster, which is part of the reason why pictures, videos, etc. are loaded on there, and typically public facing. So there's essentially it's open to the public. But what it does is it replicates assets, at least from my understanding, replicates assets across different servers, across different locations. So if you're say in Africa and you want to grab a picture, or or you're looking at a browser, a web page on the browser, and the pictures load up fairly quickly. That's part of the reason for that, is because the pictures are loaded on a CDN. Okay, so again, just kind of drawing a comparison between what a node is, and then at least from the way I understand it, is similar to the way a CDN works. But different topics about cryptocurrencies here. That was a little bit of digression when I was talking. Energy consumption, et cetera, programmability. And look at what we have here, a deeper dive into Ethereum. Okay? Ethereum. Not going to go into deep detail, but it goes into how it's made, etc. Obviously, there's going to be some legal ramifications across different countries and regions, and we're going to go into that a little bit further. But for now, let's just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And what cryptocurrencies do they call out in this document? Well, Algorand, Cardano, Stellar, XRP, Solana, and Stellar. So take off your tinfoil hats. This information is available to the public. It might make sense if you want to feel a little bit more confident, or if you want to go on the other end and not think that cryptocurrency is going to be that important. This might be a good resource for you guys to take a look at. So the next part, and this is the one I think I'm particularly interested in, is the bigger picture. Well, what does this all mean? So we got this technology that's obviously gaining popularity across the world. People can make money. There's a lot of people that become, multimillionaires, maybe even billionaires in a very short period of time in their lives. And well, that's all well and good, but what about the world? What about the social implications? What about the involvement of very large institutions or organizations? Well, we're going to look at that in a much bigger picture. Okay, so the company that released Ripple, or excuse me, XRP, is Ripple, and on their website you can see all the organizations that they partner with, and I'm gonna have to keep resetting this here. But as you can see, you have Bank of America, Santander, et cetera, and so there are institutions that are directly involved with cryptocurrencies, more specifically in this case, XRP. And one of the issues that I deal with traveling around, right, is the issue of transacting money into a different fiat. And one of the ways that this blockchain technology enables is to speed up that process. So if you're a stock investor, right, there's typically a settling period when you say you buy a stock. If you buy a stock, what ends up happening is it goes through a clearinghouse, right? So even though your transaction goes through, it's not fully cleared, which is why it goes to a clearinghouse to validate that the purchase price of that particular stock that you ordered gets settled, is the key word, on that price. So the transaction might display as you've purchased it, but the order itself doesn't settle for a couple of days. And part of the issue for that is to validate, validate the process as it goes through, because when you're going through that broker, it's actually passing through, an organization like Citadel before it actually, settles on that particular price, which is another issue that's happening right now with stocks like AMC and GME. But besides the point, that's not the topic of this particular episode. So there's a settling period, and part of the reason for that is to validate, like I said, that the transaction has been confirmed at that particular time and that particular price. But it goes through several third parties before it ever reaches the final stage, right? So whenever you're purchasing a stock, it might not necessarily be the price that was issued on the New York Stock Exchange, which is part of the reason why they get routed to third parties, market makers, and hedge funds like the Citadel and Melvin Capital. Okay, so in very much that same vein, the reason why I'm talking about that is because these technologies that's being provided, Ripple is supposed to eliminate or really speed up that process by validating a transaction on the blockchain network, and that's one of the reasons why institutions are very interested in this type of technology. So, with that being said, that doesn't necessarily mean that cryptocurrencies will become currencies themselves. The type of entity that they will evolve to is still in question. But that does not escape the fact that you can actually still make money off of cryptocurrencies. But the definition of a currency and then as an asset like a stock, are two different things. And those types of things are going to be changing as time passes, or I believe will change as time passes. And that's going to be from region to region, country to country, and from the looks of it, we're still at the very early stages of that. But we do know that at least in the U.S., this administration is putting a little bit more energy in regards to identifying these types of concerns or issues that people are having with cryptocurrency. Now, with all that being said, another area, or another areas, I should say, that people should be paying attention to, or I believe people should be paying attention to, are the areas of what are the big brother and big companies are going to be keying in on, and then on top of that, privacy, right? So we have the issue with the governance of different regions and countries, and then we also have the issue of big companies. So the first one that I want to tackle is the big companies. Why would big companies want to do something like this? And why is it going to be beneficial to them? So my theory is that big companies like the Googles, the Facebooks, the Amazons of the world want to offload these services or offload their nodes, this blockchain, so that they don't have to invest on more infrastructure to be able to provide their services on a much larger scale. See, having servers, to host cloud services like Google Drive and Dropbox and things like that requires a pretty lofty investment to be able to run servers. On top of the fact that in order for the services to have a lot of reliability and speed, you need to have servers that are as close to that particular area as possible. In very much the same context that I was describing about CDNs, the content delivery network, where you need to have a large number of servers to communicate with each other to be able to deliver and provide the services at the demand of a particular area. So, for instance, like the U.S. has particular regions where a large number of data centers where these servers are stored physically, is where you'll attach to their services. So, for instance, Virginia in the East Coast is where a lot of the large data centers are, and there's actually a data center down in North Carolina where Google has a lot of their servers, right? So how does this really tie in to these bigger companies? Well, like I said, now if they're on a distributed network like the blockchain, these companies don't have to build these large data centers to be able to provide and sell their products and services to an end user in a given area. So it becomes a large win for large companies and Big Brother. And on top of, like I said, because it's on a distributed network and a public ledger, all that information is available to show the transaction. And then, like I said, if someone needs to validate or get something from somebody else, very quickly, like a I don't know, like a PDF file. They can get that very quickly because it's replicated across these different nodes, these different smaller servers. Now, another example to kind of illustrate this a little bit further is Amazon's mesh network, Wi-Fi mesh network, with their Ring product, which is basically their what's it called? Uh, um, their doorbell with a camera. So earlier this year, one of the major announcements that was going around was that if you wanted to opt out of this mesh network, essentially the mesh network is a distributed network of nodes. In this particular case, with Amazon's Ring product, it's basically converting the Ring into a Wi-Fi hub in a given area to be able to provide Wi-Fi to 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 other people that need it if the signal starts to drop in a particular spot. So if you're in a rural area, somebody has Ring, and you're driving along, and your signal starts to drop for your Wi-Fi. Somebody else has Ring. It'll triangulate to that particular that Wi-Fi router, and be able to provide the Wi-Fi service. So that is another example of a big company doing that. So whether you like it or not, that's just the facts that are out there. It's not a sea theory. The next part is privacy, and this has to. So the next part I want to talk about is the privacy part, and this is going to be kind of an important one, right? So because this is a distributed network on a blockchain, we run into that issue: is how is it regulated, and who has the right to the information that gets stored on these particular servers, as I described earlier. Despite this type of information will be encrypted onto people's computers, but because they are being stored on people's computers or phones or whatever type of electronic device that becomes a node, how is that regulated from a regional standpoint and a company standpoint? And I think those types of situations are really going to start to make an impact because we deal with things like privacy. And although the technology itself is encrypted when they're stored onto someone's hardware, it doesn't necessarily mean that hardware is, or excuse me, that data that's stored is completely foolproof or secure. So who has the right to that type of information? Like I said, because there is a genesis of these transactions happening, and then where they get funneled to, everyone who is on the node, or is part of that node, is storing it and transporting that data back and forth. So there's a lot of different fingers and branches that kind of go out to make this a very complicated problem to solve. However, because it's already currently in motion, despite the rules and laws that are occurring, if you're in a country that might regulate things like cryptocurrency, and people are still participating in it, which they can as long as they have the internet and can access these services. Essentially, where does that fall into, and does it go backwards in regards to go to it being regulated? But at least in the U.S. right now, one of the things that we should be paying attention to the most is how, at least in my opinion, is how taxes are going to impact us as we, buy and sell these cryptocurrencies. So hopefully, the content of this video it kind of demystifies some of the concepts that were brought up in regards to cryptocurrency. Maybe it's going to give you a little bit more confidence about cryptocurrency as a whole, and maybe this will enable you to better understand um, and better decide on what you want to do with cryptocurrency. But otherwise, hopefully that this type of information is helpful, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and maybe you guys can make some money off of it, or win those party arguments that we get into every now and then in regards to these types of things. But good luck out there for cryptocurrency trading and investing, and maybe this information was helpful. And make sure to like and subscribe and to share this video, and talk to you guys soon. Thank you very much.